Christmas carols as we say welcome to a new month, and that is the month of December. So as we touch to, or rather get to the tail end of this particular month, of course, we want to bring you up to speed with what you're waking up to, and also some of the developing news overnight, and also some conversation that is going to shape the agenda of the day here in the country. There's just so much that is happening, and we'll be having that conversation later on with my panel in studio. Of course, I'll be speaking to Nudin Kagai, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'll be speaking to Honorable Justina Wamai, who is a presidential running mate in the last elections and also a political analyst. And also Odoyo Owidi will be my guest here on set this particular morning, who is also a political analyst, to try and make sense of the political events of the week as we take stock of the week. There's just so much that happened this particular week, of course, on the political front, all the way to the corridors of justice, to matters IEBC. We'll be touching all that at this particular morning, trying to make sense of exactly what is happening in the lake, but also in the mountain. Tell you exactly the issue of the reconstitution of IEBC, what that has to do with the future of elections here in the country, and what the CEO, that is Marjan Hussein Marjan, is saying as far as that is concerned. So my panel this particular morning will be helping us dissect the issues that happened this week, try to make sense of that as we take stock of the week. Now, I want to take you through the stories of the day and also welcome you to be part of this particular program by engaging us on our socials at K24 across social media platforms, at Amoy Brian, that is on X, and we'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program this particular morning. All right, let's start with the news this morning. Now, Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is John Mbadi, has reassured Kenyans that there will be no financial repercussions following the cancellation of the Adani energy deal, as announced by President William Ruto during his State of the Nation address. Now, Mbadi stated that he is confident the cancellation will not result in any costs, as the contract related to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport JKIA project was still in progress. However, the National Assembly's Debt and Privatization Committee has issued a stern warning that any misuse of taxpayers' money will lead to personal accountability for those involved. Joel Chacha now reports.
Just a day after the courts demanded the proof of the Kenyan government's cancellation of the Adani energy deals, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has affirmed that President William Ruto's directive is being implemented with seriousness.
I think you should have comfort that at that such high level, there is no possibility of doing the opposite. It's already put in place from the Directorate of PPP, which is resident in my ministry, and also from the line ministries and the contracting agency.
Mbadi clarified that only the Ketraco deal had been signed, and a special committee comprising legal experts is confident that Kenya will not incur any compensation costs to Adani.
We are getting very confident that there is no cause to worry about any loss. This will be cancelled without any problem to the taxpayers.
Meanwhile, the Debt and Privatization Committee of the National Assembly has warned that if any taxpayers' money is lost, those responsible will be held personally accountable.
We hope that no money will be lost, public money, as a result of that cancellation of the contract. And if it will be there, our hope is that whoever paid or whoever was involved, someone will be taking responsibility for it.
Pressure is also mounting on the government to disclose how much has already been spent on due diligence for the Ketraco and JKIA deals. Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
All right, away from that, President William Ruto has issued a one-week deadline to 34 government executive heads to implement digital payment systems or face disciplinary action. Now, speaking during the first anniversary of the e-Citizen relaunch at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, KICC, the president expressed a dissatisfaction with the slow rollout of digitized services despite its potential to revolutionize service delivery. Only 13 million Kenyans currently use the platform. Timothy Simwa reports on the government's push to fast-track digital transformation.
People who are still mangamangering. Yeah. And I want to put them on notice. The people who still are playing games with us.
President William Ruto has put 34 executive heads on notice, demanding full compliance with the government's digital payment agenda within a week.
Cancer Institute of Kenya, Kenya Hospital Authority Trust Fund, Kenya Nutritionist and Dietitians Institute, Health Records and Information Managers Board, National Syndemic Disease Control Council.
This ultimatum came as the president led celebrations marking the first anniversary of the e-Citizen platform relaunch at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
These entities have yet to comply with my directive.
The e-Citizen initiative was envisioned as a milestone in service delivery, offering Kenyans convenient online access to government services and seamless electronic payments.
We have numerous payment methods.
But 1 year on, adoption remains underwhelming, with only 13 million Kenyans utilizing the platform. Despite the low numbers, the president believes e-Citizen has lived up to expectations by dismantling inefficiencies, delays, bureaucracies and frustrations in service delivery.
E-Citizen is not just a digital service delivery platform. It represents a paradigm shift that has redefined public service delivery in Kenya and profoundly impacted lives.
At the same time, the head of state noted deliberate sabotage by some government agencies resisting digitization efforts.
Those who are against the digitization of government services at the KWS even orchestrated, in our gates, long queues. This system is not working.
Meanwhile, Kenyans had their say on e-Citizen efficiency and their views leave a lot to be desired.
E-Citizen sisi hatuelewi na tunaomba wenye wanahusika nayo wakuje ndio tupate kuelimika zaidi na kujua ni nini maana yake.
Hii story za e-Citizen, mimi nilisikia kitu kama 1 year ago. Kuna msee kwa niangalia ile DL driving license, lakini leo sina gari, nitaangalia nini? So hizo stories za e-Citizen kwa saizi ground haifanyi kazi sana.
E-Citizen ni nzuri kwa sababu mimi nishai kuitumia ku-apply passport na vitu vingine kama ku-renew license ya gari na vitu namna hiyo. La pili, ina shida kidogo, shida ni ile network sometimes. Inakuja network inakuta ambayo imeenda kama siku 2-3 hakuna.
Wengine wanaenda milango ya nyuma wanapata, lakini kwa saa hii mimi naona hii ya digital hii service takuwa rahisi hata kama niko wapi nalipia tu.
For the government, Kenya has become a model of harnessing digital technology. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV. All right, now after 32 years, daily newspaper will no longer be published in its traditional form. Instead, it will transition to a fully digital platform, marking a significant shift in how the publication is delivered to its readers. Now, Ken Garuia, who is the Chief Executive Officer of MediaMax Network Limited, explained that this move is part of the company's efforts to contribute to environmental conservation. By going digital, the company aims to reduce the demand for paper, which has led to the cutting down of trees for newspaper production. With over 100,000 copies of the People Daily printed daily, this change will significantly lessen the environmental impact. Now, the digital transition will allow Kenyans to access People Daily anytime, anywhere on the platform epaper.peopledaily.digital, making it easier than ever to stay informed.
Meaning we shall only have an e-paper printed digitally, but we shall still uphold 100% of the ethics of proper journalism. Over 100,000 at its peak. At times we would even do 150,000. So we are, and that is why we are saying to sustain our environment, we need to stop cutting the trees and focus on growing them. We have the People Daily app. which is currently available on Play Store and Apple Store. It's easily downloadable, doesn't take up too much of your space, and gives you live news. Apart from the e-paper, it gives you live news. You can bookmark, you can share. So we've listened to our consumers and given them an all-rounded news product that moves with you. Content on the environment will be given high priority. We shall also work with organizations that are in the same environment or in the same sector like Greenbelt movement to drive awareness of communication and effects of climate change to also local Kenyans, including local communities, and also through education to students in schools.
All right, now Githunguri Member of Parliament, that is Gathoni wa Mushomba, has launched a call center to offer expectant mothers with a platform to report mistreatment at healthcare facilities. Now, the initiative, unveiled yesterday in Nairobi, is aimed at combating obstetric violence, OBV, a growing concern where healthcare providers inflict harm on expectant mothers. Now, the launch comes ahead of the expected amendment to the obstetric violence bill in Parliament. Gertrude Brugay reports.
Reproductive mistreatment at healthcare facilities will now be a matter of the past. This follows the launch of a call center which is now expected to give expectant mothers the much-needed relief during delivery.
A few months ago, Nguvu Collective.
The center, unveiled by Githunguri Member of Parliament Gathoni wa Mushomba, is aimed at combating obstetric violence, a growing concern where healthcare providers inflict harm on expectant mothers.
Women must not be abused anymore as they push their baby out.
Yes.
Women must not be branded names because of the conditions they hold when they are delivering their babies in the hospitals.
Yes.
Women must not be allowed to deliver babies on the floor. Yet the government of Kenya is taxing us every day to provide for those facilities.
Yes.
Women must not be forced to carry basins and scissors and gloves in hospitals because they have carried babies for 9 months. That is enough pain.
Likewise, the center will collect and document OBV cases to support research, inform future policies and push for change in maternal care. According to Mushomba, this will empower women to seek legal redress and demand better treatment.
We are being told that the Linda Mama aspect has been enshrined in the new SHIF and SHA medical facility. We want to see action. We don't want to see to hear rhetorics.
Yes.
We want to hear women giving us testimonies that they went in and they came out with their babies without being detained and being followed and being auctioned their property because of medical bills.
The initiative now awaits expected amendments to the obstetric violence bill in Parliament.
We are calling upon the members of Parliament to hurriedly and quickly, even before these 16 days of activism are over, to stop doing public relations and go to Parliament and deliver for us the bill that is going to make sure we have registered less neonatal deaths and less maternity deaths.
Yes.
That bill is already there. It's a Senate bill. It has been amended on the 8th of October. That bill is now in the hands of the National Assembly.
Gertrude Burgay, K24 TV.
Now, a section of residents and parents in Maralal town took to the streets on Thursday to protest against a recent case involving a foreign national arrested on allegations of pedophilia. Now, the demonstrators, waving placards and chanting slogans, called for justice for the victims and demanded stringent measures to protect children in Samburu County as well as across the country. Robbie Omondi with that report.
Early morning in Maralal town, aggrieved parents and residents took to the streets carrying placards to protest against a case involving a foreign national, Ulrich Karl Hein Flesch, who was apprehended earlier this week following accusations of sexual exploitation involving minors.
kufanyia kijana mfulana kitu kama hiyo.
Kwa yeye ambaye hatujawahi kusikia kitu kama hiyo tangu tusaliwe. Na ile kitu ambayo tutaki kwa wanaume na wasichana, kwa kila mtu hatutaki, tafadhalini. Hii ni biashara.
Kitendo hiki hakingefika mahali kimefika kama sisi wazazi tungejitokeza na tuweze kupaza sauti yetu.
Prosecutors told the court that Mr. Flesh is alleged to have targeted multiple minors, mostly between the ages of 13 and 16. Filmed himself sodomizing them and sent the materials abroad. 8 of the minors are undergoing treatment at the Samburu Referral Hospital.
Watutafutie wale vijana wote wamefanyiwa hivyo, at least wafanyiwe counseling na ndio hii kitu ifike mwisho isiendelee.
The arrest was made on Sunday at a rented residence home in Yare village in Maralal after surveillance by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations following a tip-off from the Interpol Crimes Against Children.
Kuna Children Protection Act na pia kipengele 53 cha sheria ya Kenya ambacho kinatetea haki za watoto. Na pia katika sheria za kimataifa hakuna mahali ambapo sheria yoyote ya nchi inaruhusu mtoto kudhulumiwa na kufanyiwa unyama na ugaidi ambao umefanyika hapa Samburu.
The suspect was arraigned in the Maralal Law Courts on Monday, where detectives were granted permission to detain him for 14 days to facilitate further investigations. Maralal Principal Magistrate Victor Asio, in his ruling, said he was persuaded by the request and allowed the suspect to be held at the Maralal police station until December 9th.
Washa haki itendeke kwa watoto. Ninaomba tu mzungu asijaribu kuashiliwa hata kidogo. Kwa sasa tunaomba serikali kwa maana imefika kwa mkono wao waweze pia kutupatia justice that we need.
Robbie Omondi, K24.
Right, now while Kenya boasts a strong legal foundation promoting disability inclusion as per the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Persons with Disabilities Act, or number 14 of 2003, the report highlights a significant gap between policy and practice. A key finding reveals that only 4% of public institutions meet the mandated 5% reservation of employment for persons with disabilities, meaning only a mere 1.32% of the total workforce are persons with disabilities. And as Robbie Omondi tells us, today marks 20 years of disability inclusion in the country. What milestones have been achieved so far and what more lies ahead?
It is 20 years since disability was legally recognized as a human rights agenda in the country.
20 years ago, a person born with disability was killed at birth because of the stigma associated with disability. In Maasai land, that person is given cholesterol as a fast food so that it will coalesce in the stomach. This child die of hunger. In Samburu, the child born with disability will be given water mixed with sniffing tobacco to perforate the intestine so that this child die because it was stigma to have a person with disability.
And through the years, efforts have been put to ensure that there is an ease on barriers to ensuring and enhancing rights for persons living with disability.
Like my form of disability is more of a built environment. We have ramps, we have accessible public transport, we have, public amenities suited, for this person to freely engage in a society. If someone is blind, it's more of access to information and communication.
Monica Mudhoni, for instance, was in an accident 13 years ago together with her brother and parents. Her brother and her father succumbed, while for her, she is now living with disability.
Kwa accident akimkomia nikapata spine injury, but brother yangu hakusurvive. Alipata internal bleeding, so alipass on the way akienda hospitali.
Her mother too, who survived, is now blind and deaf.
Kwa na furesha ya macho, hivyo ndio daktari alisema. Kutoka sasa hapo kuendelea tu hapo ni kokogisa. Mashida ikawa ni mingi. Kutoka 2021 hapo ndio nayo masikio ilianza kuenda.
According to the 2019 census, around 900,000 Kenyans live with different forms of disability. However, due to stigmatization and discrimination, most persons with disability have not registered with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. making it hard to account for all persons.
This April, we have scaled the number of beneficiaries from 1.2 million to 1.7 million. I'm happy to report that by next month, we shall increase the number of beneficiaries from 67,000 to 100,000 for cash transfer program for persons with severe disabilities.
Unlike many years ago when children born with disability were killed and those who lived were hidden, now persons living with disability have been provided for ways to ensure they live a normal life.
And then we also support, persons with disability in the country with assistive devices, like wheelchairs, crutches, prostheses, You can imagine me without a wheelchair, how life could be. But if you don't use it, it's just a small piece of metal. It's a leg of someone, the crutches.
And through the Council for Persons Living with Disability, 40,000 students are able to go to school, as well as many others who have access to Presidential Bursary Fund,
which we provide 30,000 per year for anybody who is disabled and who is not able to cater for the school fees.
We give free grants, to students who are accessing TVETs, universities, and other vocational training, and full scholarship to those who are in secondary school.
A major setback in ensuring and upholding of rights of persons living with disability has been in the employment space, where out of nearly 250,000 workforces in the country, less than 4,000 are for persons with disability. This translates to less than 2% of the required 5% employment requirement for persons living with disability.
That's where the National Council came up with career portal, NCPD career portal, where we made it mandatory for all public sectors to advertise through there, and then for job seekers with disability to register there. And that portal of ours, we have more than 6,000 employers, job seekers with disabilities there.
And now, with a change from NHIF to SHA, the Ministry, the Department of Social Protection, and the Council for Persons Living with Disability are ensuring that these people are not left out in access to health services.
We have worked very, very closely. The officers from the Ministry of Health were here, and I gave them my team for social protection, such that we make our data interoperable with theirs.
Some disability require medical attention all through. And the commitment of this government is 100% universal health coverage for persons with disabilities. And the reform under SHA from NHIF includes that now, that if someone with disability presents himself and is registered, he needs to get his wheelchair through that cover. She needs to get, her hearing aids through that cover.
To this end, a call has been made to stakeholders and the society at large to ensure rights of persons living with disability are upheld.
Let us take care of the people living with disabilities. They are human beings like myself and any other person. And I want to say that anybody is a potential disabled person.
I was not born with disability. My disability is through road accident. And now that we are going on a festivity season also, let's be very careful on our roads. Because many times we only hear people get injured, others dying, but no one tells us how many got maimed for life, and what does that mean if it comes to that family, that individual, and the nation. Because disability is an expensive lifestyle.
Robbie Omondi, K24.
All right, now that story by Robbie Omondi takes us to our first break here on the program. Of course, when we come back, I'll be taking you through what you're waking up to as far as newspapers are concerned, and also have a conversation that is about taking stock of the week, what this week has been from the political front all the way to, social issues, exactly what has been happening, which will be, mostly we will be focusing on what exactly happened yesterday in Limuru as far as Rigathi Gachagua is concerned. So continue engaging us on our socials at K24 TV across social media platforms. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program this particular morning. We take a break. We will be back in a few.
every thrilling moment of the English Premier League. The German FA Cup,